Hey, everybody, glad to have you on our show today. Appreciate you joining us today on November the 8th, 2016, Election Day here in the United States of America. And we're glad, let me turn my monitor off here. All right, good. Cool. Hey, we're glad you're here. You know, today is a historic day for people here in America. A lot of things going on. Whoever you might be voting for, that I have my preferences of who I voted for, and you can probably figure that out by the end of the show. But the important thing is to go vote, because what we're going to be talking about today is a really big subject, because where we got to in America today has to do with this subject, and where we go in the future from today has a lot to do with this subject, because it's a really, really important subject about what's going on in our world, right? And so I'm glad you're with us. If you don't know who I am, my name's Dean Renfro. Be sure to click on notifications up there. You can follow along anytime I'm live. Kind of explain to you how the show works. You can also type in the comment section underneath this video and ask questions, make comments, tell me who you are, where you're from, all that kind of thing. You can also give us a thumbs up or a heart or a smiley face or a frowny face or whatever you need to do. The real big important thing that you can do besides those things is to click the share button down there at the bottom and share it with the people on your news feed. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks for giving me your time. I believe it'll be used well. I always deliver on what the things we're going to talk about. And so just glad to have you a part of today's show. I do these shows almost every day. Sometimes, schedule interrupts, but glad to have you with us. Yesterday we did a show on politics. Today we're doing one on leadership, because leadership has a lot to do with where we are and how we got where we are and where we're going to go in the future. So we're going to talk about real leadership, right? We're going to talk about this subject right here. We're going to talk about it today. Why real leadership matters, okay? Why real leadership matters and what it has to do with our life, with politics, with the way the world is right now, the way things are going right now. It has a lot to do with all those things, and we're going to be talking about that today. You might be saying, well, hey, what right do you have to be talking about leadership? Well, I've been leading my own business for over 40 years. I am also a certified speaker, trainer, coach for the Maxwell team, which is the largest leadership group organization in the world. John is the most recognized over and over leadership guru in the world. He's written over 60 publications about leadership that have all been bestsellers. So we have a lot of resources on hand about leadership, right? About leadership and what leadership's about. And leadership, of course, is at the core of everything. As it has well been said, and Dr. Maxwell talks about this over and over again, everything rises and falls with leadership. Everything rises and falls with leadership. So I want to encourage you to be a part of today's show. Share the show. There's a button right down there that you can click share it with the people on your timeline as well. If you don't know me, again, my name's Dean Renfro. Glad to have you part of the show. If you're catching us on the replay for the first time, or the 10th time, or the 100th time, you can also type in comments in the feed on the replay, and I'll answer them, and it'll show up in the show as people watch it. So appreciate you being a part here today. So let's get started when we talk about why real leadership matters. On a day of politics, I try to kind of get away from that. It's all over the news. It's everywhere. It's all kind of stuff going on with people. People are, sorry about that, bump my camera. It's just everywhere. And so I thought, well, let's take a break and talk about something else, because you can certainly find politic conversations going on everywhere. Your timeline's probably ate up with that, but that's okay. That's good, because it's really, really important today, okay? So let's talk about leadership, why it matters, why real leadership matters. And I picked that because oftentimes leadership has some very vague definitions in people's lives, some very narrow, definitions, some very top water definitions. Somebody said, if you're out taking a walk and people are following you, you're the leader. Well, that can be true, and that's a top water definition. It also can be said if you're taking a walk and you turn around and nobody's following you, you're not a leader, right? So it's true both ways. So what really can we talk about when we talk about what is real leadership? Why does real leadership matter? Now, I'm in the process of writing a book entitled Leadership Multiplies, because real leaders lead. And you can probably guess that what I'm going to be talking on today and other days in the future have a lot to do with what's in this book that I'm writing. And I'd love your comments and your input about some of the things that I talk about real leadership. And so when we look at the world today, you have people who are leaders by position, right? I mean, they don't necessarily have earned the right. They don't necessarily deserve to be in that position, but they are the person that has been given the title. You may have that at your job, right? You may have that at your job where the person that is over you is, quote, the boss, whether that's the team leader, the manager, the shift leader, the senior, the person with seniority. They are, quote, the leader, and they may not really deserve to be the leader, but they're the leader by title. They may not be leader by example. They may not be leader because of skills. They may not be leader because of talents. They may just be because of the position. So we have that happens. Some people are leaders because of the power that they possess. When we talked about this yesterday, when we talked about the things that the fact that most people in America are on some kind of controlled substance. We talked about those 8 controlled substances, and one of those has to do with power in your life. You see, people let power come into their life in many different ways. And people have power over you, and that's a leadership position over you, whether you recognize that or not. So if you're in debt to somebody, if you're in debt to the bank, if you're in debt to the government, if you're in debt to to whoever, those people have power over you. They're leading you. They can put you in a position to make a decision, whether you like it or not, whether it's good for you or not, whether it's healthy for you or not. That causes you to take action, forces you to take action, because they have the power over you. Some people can order you because they're your boss. They have the power over you. So those are 2 kinds of leadership types that are out there. You can find out more about that in the 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, which we'll be talking more about that and be a part of this book as well, about why real leadership matters, right? Why real leadership matters. And we're going to talk about the letter R today. We're going to talk about the letter R and why in leadership does the letter R really matter, okay? Let's look at this. Why does leadership matter, first of all, in your own world, in your own life? You may not have ever thought about that, but everybody is a leader. Everybody is a leader. And the only person you may be leading is yourself, okay? And you may think, well, I never thought about that before. That's understandable. That's understandable because nobody's probably ever challenged you to think about the fact that you are a leader even if the only person you're leading is you. Okay? Now you may be saying, okay, well what does that mean? Well, let's look at it this way. If you were following someone, just say you're going to take a trip, right? You're going to take a trip and you're going to follow someone, right? And you start following them, and they go down the road and they take a left, so you take a left. They go a little bit further and they take a right, you take a right. And you keep following them, and then when they get somewhere, you go, well, this is not where I wanted to go. Okay? But you followed them anyway, right? Because that's what happens. See, oftentimes, if you look at your life, your job, your family, your organization that you might be involved in, or if you're in church, or if you look at that, you will find that there are people taking you places, and that you're taking you places. You may not even realize you're being led there. But all you have to do to understand the leadership principle is look around and go, how did I get here? How did I get here? When you take the matter of faith involved in your life, you can look and go, okay, how did I get here in my faith, in my spirituality? Was it a pastor who led me here? Was it a Sunday school teacher? Was it a person of influence in my life? Is that how I got here? Well, that's partly true, but part of it's you're going to find out is you got there because you led yourself there. unknowingly maybe even led yourself there. Because you see, one reason leadership matters is because if you're not leading anybody else in this world, you're at least leading yourself, even if you don't know it. Why does leadership matter? Let's talk about that. Because it is foundational. Leadership is foundational to a person's life. I just talked about that. So if you are looking at your life and your family and your job and organization or your church or your business, your own life, leadership is foundational to making it all work. If it's not working very well right now, you're going to find, when you trace it back, you're going to find out it has to do with a leadership problem. Like I said, John Maxwell points out that everything rises and falls with leadership. Okay, so when you realize that the very base, the foundation of every decision, every choice you make, where you are in life, how you got there in life, whether it's your job or your business or your spiritual walk or your family or your lack of family or whatever, you're going to find that at the foundation of that is leadership. Because leadership is the mechanism that builds foundations in our life. Okay, so it's foundational. That's why leadership matters. We look in the political world today, we talk about all the things that everybody's talking about. I'll tell you something. What matters is, at the foundation of that is leadership. The ability of someone to take us somewhere on a journey that we all want to go on, that is to our betterment, okay? That improves our lot in life, our situation in life. It's foundation. Leadership's foundation. That's why it matters. Number two is because leadership is necessary. Leadership is necessary for an organization, a church, a family, a job, your own life, for it to move to the next level, whatever that looks like, good or bad, pretty or ugly, leadership is necessary. Okay? See, even if there's a vacuum of it in your life, that is still a leadership foundation that takes you a certain direction. So leadership matters because it's necessary. It's necessary to move us on, to take us to the next level. So that's what you find, why leadership matters, why it's important. It's foundational, it's necessary. Look at the next one. It is modeled to us. Leadership is modeled to us. Maybe it's from a parent figure. Maybe it's from a family member. Maybe it's from society. Maybe it's through our job. Maybe it's through things that we read, things that we watch, things that we believe. Leadership is modeled to us. Okay? So part of why leadership matters is understanding the model of leadership that we might have. The model of leadership that we might have. So when you understand that, how it's modeled to us, you see, like I talked about a little bit earlier, sometimes leadership has been modeled to us as it's a position. So if we think we have a title, we think we're the leader, right? We think we're the leader because we have a title. And then oftentimes in that role, we'll find out that we're just walking around and there's nobody following us. And so that makes us, we're really not the leader, even if, quote, we have the title. Some people can lead without the title. They don't have to have the title, right? Because they have influence, okay? Or they have longevity, or they have an investment in the organization or the person or the situation they've invested in, and so therefore they're the leader. And when you look at this from a modeling position, people have adopted all kind of models for leadership, not even realizing it. That's why we find when you find a broken home where there's been no dad, or a broken home where there's been no mom, you'll find out that person lacks at least half of the formula of what it takes to be led. Whatever part's not there, they lack that. Okay? If that void gets filled, and it will get filled by other things, then that's the model they adopt. And we tend to all duplicate what we've seen, what we know, what we hear, what we believe. We tend to duplicate that, right? So when that happens, then that model gets passed on to the next generation of people, right? The next generation of organization, the next generation of the group or the church or or whatever it might be, it gets passed on to the next one. I personally believe that real leadership, and the reason that it matters is because it multiplies, as I just said. It gets passed on. It leaves a legacy. It leaves an example. It leaves a pattern. It leaves an imprint. It leaves a DNA. Okay? And so when you look at organizations, or you look at a family, or you look at a person, or you look at a country, or you look at a business, when you look at them, you will quickly be able to recognize, is there leadership here that is healthy? Because healthy leadership multiplies healthy leadership, right? Now, you also know that to be true the opposite way. Diseased leadership multiplies diseased leadership. Okay? Poor leadership multiplies poor leadership. Rich leadership multiplies rich leaders, right? It just, understand, it is real leadership is designed to multiply. So if you're not seeing multiplication in the process, then what you find is that there's not real leadership going on there, and so you have this void, because a void of leadership multiplies. Guess what? A void of leadership, right? That's what it multiplies. So like multiplies like, and that's what I'm talking. That's why leadership matters. Why it matters. Okay. All right. So if you're just joining us on the show today, if you just joining, my name is Dean Renfro. You be sure to click on notifications up there. Follow me anytime I come on by turning notifications on. Anytime I go live, you'll see that. You can then choose to be a part of the show or not. You can watch. You can give us a thumbs up. You can give a heart. You can type in the comment box below. You can also click the share button down there and share it with people that are friends with you and on your own timeline. Which is great, because that gives more people involved in what we're talking about. You can also, if you're catching us on the replay, type your comments in. I'll answer them as well, and other people will see those that participate in the show. So again, glad to have you today. We're talking about what is real leadership, why it really matters, why real leadership matters, and we've just talked about here are 4 reasons that leadership matters. Okay, there's more, but I just kind of want to cover the basics. It's going to be a part of my upcoming book, Leadership Multiplies, because real leaders lead, and it can't help but multiply, because when real leaders lead, it happens. Okay, it happens. All right, so let's talk about the R in real leadership. Of course, you probably figured out the word real is the kind of the acronym that we're going to be using. Real leadership is relational. You see, oftentimes what people miss in leadership is understanding that it's built around relationships. It's built about building connections and relationships. And so when you begin to understand that, then you begin to see why it becomes important of what you're doing in building relationships, even within yourself. So let's look at that. It is relational in nature. That is, leadership is relational in nature. If you're the only one taking the walk, you're not really the leader, except of yourself, because you're the only person present. So by nature, to quote, be a leader, there has to be a what? You can type that in the chat box while I get a drink, even if you're catching me on the replay. For there to be a leader, there has to be a what? Starts with an F. There has to be a follower, right? There has to be a follower for there to be the classification a leader. So by nature, a leader is relational, because there has to be other people involved. There has to be other things. You have to have connections to it. So in other words, if you're leading an organization, you have to have a relationship with the organization for it to work. Right? For it to work. Without that, you really are kind of in the dark. If you're trying to lead a group of people, you have to have a relationship with them, because leadership it demands in its very nature that it is relational with people. It is relational with the process, and even the process. You have to have a relationship with the process. if you don't understand the process, your leadership is going to break apart. Does that make sense? Make sense to you? Okay. Leadership is relational in design. Not only in its very nature is it relational, it's also relational in its design. It is designed to engage other people and other processes. That's what leadership really is in design, is supposed to do. It is not an exercise in one-manship. Okay, it's not an exercise. Leadership is not an exercise in this "I'll do this by myself" kind of thing. Because even then, in real leadership process, you have to understand. Even in design, even if you are doing it by yourself, you are not doing it by yourself, because there is all this makeup of you as a person. Even if you're the only one doing it, there is who taught you the skills, who taught you the language, who taught you, the information, how you apply that based on your personality and all those kinds of things. All of that is a part of the design of leadership. So it's relational in its very nature. The design of it is important. So in its very, very design, leadership is relational, okay? And then the third thing about that is in its effectiveness. Leadership is relational in its ability to be effective. In other words, how do you measure leadership? Well, it's measured in results. It's measured by being effective. In other words, that's what we're looking at. So when you measure leadership, and we've talked about this in our elections, we talk about this in church, we talk about this in organizations, we talk about this in our own lives, talk about this in family. When we say we have a bad leader, what are we basing that on? The effectiveness, right? The effectiveness of what's happened. Or did things happen? Did good things happen? Did bad things happen? Did it move us forward? Did it move us backward? Did it take us somewhere, or did it get us lost? See, all that is based in the relational part of effectiveness. So by its very nature, by its very design, leadership is relational in its effectiveness. It demands an engagement to be effective. Right? It has to demand a relationship. And you oftentimes see that when a new hire comes on the job, right? We give them space and time to, quote, learn what they're supposed to be doing. Why do we do that? Because we know if they don't get a relationship with what their job is and get a hold of that they're not going to be very effective. So in its very nature, design, and in its own effectiveness, that leadership is relational. It is relational. All right, so maybe you got a comment about that. You can put that in the chat box underneath. We're going to just kind of keep moving on through the process here. And I didn't turn the phone off. So let's talk about the next component. The next part of it in the real sector is not only is relational, but it is relationship in its by its very nature in building. See, it is relational in the process of building. Leadership is constantly building relationships. It may be building relationships with people. It may be building relationships with regulations. It may be building relationships with other entities. It may be building relationships with a spiritual being. It is, by its very nature, leadership demands relationships be built. Be built, right? So let's just kind of back up to a very basic part of that. How does that work? How does relationship building as a leader work? Well, it starts with who you are as a person. Not only did I, as a young leader of organizations in church and business, learn very quickly, that I needed to know what the 5 levels of leadership were that Dr. Maxwell talks about in his book, 5 Levels of Leadership. I needed to understand how they worked and why they worked, okay, and how that fit me. Because sometimes you find yourself, you are a positional leader. Sometimes that happens by just happens. In other words, you're put in that position by just its very nature. Oftentimes, as you go up the staircase, if you imagine 5 sets of steps, and each level is above the other, sometimes you find yourself in that relationship building process that you're able to invest, in the organization or invest in other people, and that raises you up to another level because now you're, quote, vested. Maybe it's because you've been there a long time. Maybe it's because you're vested by time. Maybe you're vested by skill. Maybe you're vested by abilities and those kinds of things, by example. But who you are determines a lot about that. So the more you can know about yourself, okay, who you are as a person, because here's kind of how that works. If you take the DISC profile and you're an intense action D, and you may not be familiar with that term, and that's okay. I'll show you how you can take that profile, and I can help you understand what you're about and how you're wired and made. If you take yourself that you're an intense action D person, okay, that's who you are. How you build relationships is going to look very different, okay, than an intense action S person. Okay, it's just going to look very different. And then you add the blends that most people have to that. It shapes the way relationships are built, even from a leadership perspective. Okay, so you have to understand that about yourself. You have to know that about yourself. You have to understand your reactionary modes, okay, in relationship building. You have to understand, example, who are the people that you like to engage with the most, okay? Who are the people that you like to engage with the least? Who are the people that give you the most problem engaging with? Who are the people who frustrate you the most in this engagement of leadership? Okay? When you know those kinds of things, then you have to understand how to build different relationships with them because of who you are and who they are. So relationship building has a lot to do with who you are. It also has a lot to do with what you do. Okay, what you do in a relationship. If you're in a positional leader and you're seen as the leader, then there are certain expectations that you have. Now, those are good things if you know what they are. If you don't know what they are, you can get yourself in trouble. You can do what is oftentimes expressed, you overstepped your bounds. That's not your job. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to be here. Those kinds of things, okay? That oftentimes you find that to be true in what you do is a part of building relationships. So you can leverage that, but you can also be blindsided by it, okay? If you don't understand that in your leadership process, okay? In your leadership process. So who you are, what you do, in other words, how you can build relationships. So in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, the first leadership law that Dr. Maxwell talks about is the law of the lid. Okay? And if you understand the law of the lid, then you understand what I'm talking about in this relationship building about who you are and what you do. Because if you're at a level 3 as a leader by position or by time or by experience, okay, you're never going to get anybody else beyond following you that's beyond the 3 level. A 5 is not going to follow you, a 6 is not going to follow you, a 7 is not going to follow you because of who you are and what you do. You have to understand that, okay? So what you want to do is go hang out with people that are in the levels above you so that you can begin to learn, how do I build myself and my relationships and my connections to this level, right? That's what you have to learn how to do. Then the third thing in the building part is who you know. In relationship, as a leader, in building relational leadership, it's who are you? What do you understand about yourself and how much you understand about yourself? Number 2, what you do, okay, whether that's task or what you do with people or how you do it and those kinds of things, what you do. And then the third part of that is who you know. See, the process, and we talk about this in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, we talk about the very fact of of influence. Who do you know? Who knows you? You know, and oftentimes we forget there's two sides to that formula. It's not just who do you know, but who knows you. And that becomes important. That becomes an important connection in leadership building with relationships. It's not only do I know you, but you know me. That there's a deeper relationship that has been built when we know each other. So who do you know? And you want to establish that and build that if in leadership. That becomes a critical part. Okay? So let's talk about more of the R when we talk about what is relational. It is with its intention. You know, real leaders in relationships, it is about being intentional. We just talked about who do you know. Well, there's a process to maybe acquire and get connected to those you know. And so you become intentional in your relationship building. If there's a skill that you need, or a talented person that you need, or information that you need, you have to be intentional in building a relationship with that. Now, you may have never looked at it that way, but if you take school, if you take academics in nature, you have to build an intentional relationship with learning, because maybe you're not a natural learner. And if you take if you take profiles and you begin to learn what is your natural styles, you know, and who are you naturally, how are you bent, how are you shaped, so to speak, then you begin to realize that certain people are bent with an intention to learn. Other people aren't. Some people are bent with an intention to be administrator, to quote minister, to oversee things. You know, they're bent that way. Some people are bent with the intention to influence people. Okay, they're influencers, and it comes easy to them. Okay. Well, you have to build this intentional relationship with that. Okay? So if you need a skill, you have to go build a relationship with that. Okay? Intentionally. It's not just going to happen. It's not going to fall out of the sky. Nobody's going to open the top of your head and pour it in. Okay? It's not just going to come to you. You have to be intentional in building a relationship to get that, whether it's a person, or whether it's a skill, or whether it's information, or whether it's finances. No matter what it is, you've got to go be intentional, and that's this idea of building a relationship with it. How does that happen? Part of that happens when you can build intentional value into things. If you build value into people, if you intentionally build value into people, you're going to build a relationship with them. It's going to happen. When you value somebody because of who they are as a person, if you value somebody because of what they know or what they do or the skill level they possess, if you value an organization because of what they bring to the table, if you're intentional about building value, okay, then you see that there's this relationship being built. Other people who value the same thing build that relationship. And you've seen this. You see this everywhere. You see this everywhere. We have a good friend that has a special needs daughter, and she has been so patient with this child. And she's got other children, and she's been patient. My wife was fortunate enough to be one of the caregivers at our church for this child, and you know, all of us have developed relationships with her, and we've watched her grow, and we've watched her go through struggles, and we've watched this mom and dad just hang on and keep pushing and keep pulling and keep being intentional and adding value to their child and adding value to the relationships that they've built and into organizations that are about helping this child. Well, this child has made just huge progress in the last 6 months. Okay. And so this mom is giving value back to other moms in the same place in life, and she's building relationships with them, and she's being intentional. Now, she could have just kept all that to herself, you know, and you couldn't blame her, because I mean, it is exhausting what she's had to do, you know, and helping this child move forward. Okay, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about in this intentional value thing, of being intentional and adding value. You're also, relationship building with intentions is also about service, about serving people, about helping people, about giving a hand up, whether it's to an organization or people, or to your church, or to a business. You know, when you can give them a hand up, when you can reach out and say, here, let me help you, and I'm going to be intentional about that. It was Zig Ziglar who said, you know, if you help enough people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. That's what he's talking about. Be intentional in serving people, in helping people will help you build relationships that are intentional, that will help your leadership. Okay, that'll help your leadership. So be intentional in serving people. Find things to help people with. Okay, and be intentional. Don't wait to be asked. Jump in. Volunteer. You know, get out there and be a part of it. And every organization, church, ministry, business, people's lives are looking for people who will serve and add value to their life. It's just an innate thing that human beings can do. And then, of course, you want to be intentional about the opportunities that come along and that you can create for people. You know, one of the best ways to build a relationship with someone is provide them with an opportunity, okay, to better themselves, to improve their lot in life, to gain something in their life, to gain a connection, to gain finances, to gain knowledge, to gain a relationship, to gain a connection. You intentionally provide opportunities to people to grow, to develop. Oftentimes, the leader struggles in all of this because they struggle with their own ego-ness. Is that I can't help this person do better because they're going to show me up. They're going to pass me up. They're going to go beyond me. Okay? Well, that kind of leadership holds people down, and eventually people quit following you. Because people are looking to improve their self in life. They're looking to improve their relationships, their connections, their talents, their skills, their money, their influence. They're looking to increase those things. They look for people who give opportunity, right? They're looking for people who give opportunity. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're looking for. So, as you think about all of that, you know, it just helps you understand about relationships matter. Now, as like I said, this is part of a book I'm writing. You've got just a little bit of a chapter on leadership multiplies, because real leaders lead, about the R part of the word real. And the whole book's about the word acronym real and what that means. And so I just kind of want to give you a little bit of snippet about that. I appreciate your feedback if you're catching me live here or on the replay. Hey, you know, this stuff's not worth 2 cents. I believe it is. I personally believe it is. I believe it'll help people that'll listen here. Or you can say, hey, this is great. I'd like to talk more with you about that. Matter of fact, I'll even offer you a part of being in the book as an interview if you want to talk about one of these parts of the book. And then you can put your name on the book with it. You know, we'll add you to the book. Because real leaders lead, and leadership multiplies. And I believe that. And it multiplies in a lot of different kind of ways. So I can, what I'm saying to you here, just to show you how this lives out, and being intentional in sharing this for you to be a part of this by adding value to you, but you can add value to me, and you can add value to others. You can serve others with what you know, and who you know, and how you know these people, and your talents and skills and resources. And here's an opportunity. See, I believe in opportunity, being intentional to multiply more leaders by giving other leaders the opportunity to be a part of this. It's just how that works. It's just how that works. All right, so here's the sponsor of our show today. It's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I'm holding a mastermind on that in several different ways. First of all, I'm holding one in a virtual context where there'll be 8 of us together in a room, and we'll be going through this book, but also building a mastermind concept of how we can help each other be the kind of leaders we need to be by reviewing, looking, and working through the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. That's what we're going to be talking about. And you can go and join this Facebook group right here. It's on the screen. And let me make it bigger for you, okay? make it bigger for you. And you can go there, and the link will also be here in the thread as well as the title when we finish this today. And you can join that group and be a part of the virtual group that will be. It'll be several of them, so you'll be a part of that. You can also, of course, be a part if you live locally with where I live in the Houston area. We're going to be hosting several of these, okay? And you can go to this web address and also be a part of a local face-to-face leadership mastermind on the 21 Laws of Leadership, okay? You can be a part of that. And you can go to meetup.com, John Maxwell Conroe, 21 Laws of Leadership Mastermind Group, and sign up and be a part of that, okay? It's free. There's no charge for this mastermind. You can be a part of it for sure, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. It'd be a great opportunity for you. So that's a little bit about what we're talking about being real leaderships. I appreciate your comments here today and being a part of today's show. If it's been something useful to you or somebody else, I encourage you to share it, to go share it with people, and give you the opportunity, of course, to take action, with that. And to do that, I'm just going to share a little bit of word from one of my mentors, John Maxwell, and he'll share a little bit with you about the fact that you got to take action, you got to take that step, you got to be a little bit urgent. Here we go.
Hi, I'm John Maxwell, and Chris Whitmer from Broadway, Virginia, independent business owner, wants me on Minute with Maxwell today to talk about choices. My wonderful friend John Wooden said it so best. Probably as a mentor, he taught me more about choices than anyone else. But he had this wonderful phrase that said, there's a choice you have to make in everything you do. So keep in mind that in the end, the choice you make makes you. I love that phrase. The choice you make makes you. A lot of people, they think that the environment makes them, or their conditions makes them, or their money make them, or friendships just kind of make them. And they're always kind of going around looking for someone to make their day and kind of get them where they aren't getting on their own. Listen to me, my friend. It's your personal choices. If they're good, that's going to help make you. If they're bad, it's going to be the unmaking of you. I think in choices, when people ask me about decision-making, the most important thing I say to them is simple. It's your responsibility.
So, hey, anyway, again, my name's Dean Renfro. Thanks for being with me today. Appreciate you giving me your time. I know it's precious, and I know you can't get it back. And hopefully what we've done today is help you, raise the lid in your own leadership. Hopefully it has helped you see some things that you can start investing in your own life from a relationship perspective. Because, again, I believe this. Real leadership is about, it multiplies because it's real, because it can help. As I talked about today, it can help because it has these things built into it. It has these things built into it. So again, hey, thanks for being with us. Catch us again soon on our Lunch and Learn, and we talk about more leadership principles, about why real leadership matters, why it matters in your life, in your family, in your church, your organization, your business, your community, and in the world. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day.